I'm 77 years old and what I learned after 2 months in a nursing home. If someone had told me at 77 that I'd spend 2 months in a nursing home, I would have laughed. I was independent, strong, and had lived my life on my own terms. I never thought I'd end up there, at least not yet. But life doesn't ask for our permission. It humbles us, teaches us, and sometimes places us in situations we never saw coming. What I thought would be a short stay, a place to recover and rest, turned into an experience that changed the way I see everything. I met people who had been there for years. Some still had visitors, children, grandchildren, old friends. But many, they were completely alone, forgotten. They had stories to tell, regrets they wished they could undo, and lessons they learned too late. And as I sat there listening, I realized this could be any of us one day. So, before you assume this doesn't apply to you, ask yourself, what if this were your future? What if you were given the chance, right now, to avoid the regrets so many elderly people have? In this video, I'll share 7 powerful lessons I learned inside those walls, lessons that may just change the way you live. Watch until the end because some of these might surprise you. Lesson 1. Loneliness is the worst disease of old age. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to leave the world a bit better, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." I used to believe success was measured by accomplishments, by what I built, what I owned, what I could prove. But I never considered that one day all of it would mean nothing if I had no one to share it with. Many people think a nursing home is just a place for care, a quiet refuge where elders are looked after. But inside, behind those closed doors, the greatest struggle is not illness, it is loneliness. I met residents whose eyes lit up when the phone rang, only for disappointment to settle when it wasn't their family. Some clung to old photographs as if trying to hold on to a time when they still mattered. Others simply stared out the window, watching the world move on without them. Their children were busy, their friends had passed away, and no matter how kind the nurses were, nothing could replace the feeling of being wanted, of belonging. The hardest part of aging is realizing that life doesn't pause for you. I remember sitting beside a man who once owned a successful business, who was once surrounded by colleagues, clients, and a long list of acquaintances. But now, in this place, his biggest wish wasn't more time to work, more money to earn, more achievements to chase. It was just to have someone visit. I wish I had understood this sooner. I wish I had spent more time nurturing the relationships that truly mattered, instead of constantly looking ahead, believing there would always be time later, because there comes a day when later is no longer an option. If there is one thing I hope you take from this, it is this. The people in your life, the ones who care for you now, are the greatest wealth you will ever have. So ask yourself, who in your life needs to hear from you today? And if you were in their shoes, would you want to be forgotten? Let me know in the comments, because this is something we all need to think about. Lesson 2. Health is priceless, and money can't buy it. Benjamin Franklin once said, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." At the time, he was talking about fire safety, but as I sat in that nursing home watching once powerful men struggle to lift a spoon, I realized how deeply those words apply to life itself. Health isn't something you think about until it's gone, until the simple act of walking across a room becomes a battle, until eating your favorite meal requires assistance, until your body is no longer your own. I once met a man who had everything: wealth, cars, properties all over the world. He had spent his life building an empire, working tirelessly to secure a future of comfort and luxury, but now? He sat in a wheelchair, staring at the floor, unable to even feed himself without help. His money could buy the best medical care, the most experienced doctors, the finest equipment, but none of it could buy back the ability to take a deep breath without pain, or walk outside without someone holding him up. He told me he used to laugh at people who prioritized exercise, who spent time worrying about their diets, who talked about stress as if it were something that could actually kill you. I was too busy for all that, he admitted, too focused on making a living, and now I realize I never really lived. He told me about the plans he had, the places he wanted to visit, the experiences he had postponed for later, always assuming there would be more time. But now his world was reduced to a single room, a bed, a chair, and a routine of medications and doctor visits. No matter how much money you have, if you don't have your health, you don't have freedom, and if you don't have freedom, you can't truly enjoy life. I saw this truth reflected in so many faces around me, people who once lived with the illusion that they were invincible, that age was something that happened to other people, that their bodies would always be strong enough to carry them through whatever came next. And yet, here they were, trapped by the consequences of choices made decades ago. If I could go back, I would do everything differently. I would have exercised more even when I was tired. I would have eaten better even when unhealthy food was more convenient. I would have slowed down, reduced stress, learned to breathe instead of constantly chasing something more. Because the real wealth in life isn't what's in your bank account. It's the ability to wake up and move without pain, to take a walk without gasping for breath, to hold a cup of coffee with steady hands, to laugh without worrying about whether your body will betray you. If you're watching this and you still have your health, I hope you realize what a gift it is. The question is, are you taking care of it? Or are you, like so many others, assuming you can wait until later? Because one day, later will be too late. What's one thing you can start doing today to invest in your health? Let me know in the comments, because this might just be the most important conversation we ever have. Lesson 3. Material possessions lose their meaning. Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "We are rich in proportion to the number of things which we can afford to let alone." At the time, I didn't understand what that meant. I believed richness was about ownership, about what I could touch, see, and display. My house was filled with things, furniture that took up space, decorations that once seemed important, closets bursting with clothes I rarely wore. Each item had been chosen carefully, purchased with pride, and added to a growing collection that I thought defined me. But now I live in a small room with only a few essentials, and I can barely remember the things I spent a lifetime collecting. The furniture, the trinkets, the luxury. It's all gone, sold or given away, reduced to nothing but distant memories. I sit in this space and wonder why I once believed those things mattered, why I worked so hard to accumulate them when, in the end, they meant so little. What I remember instead are the moments, the laughter of friends around a dinner table, the way my mother's hands felt when she held mine, the time I watched my child take their first steps. Those moments didn't require wealth, only presence, but for too long I was too busy chasing things to notice them. If I could go back, I would trade every possession for just a little more time, a few more memories, one last chance to hold the people I love. And yet, I wonder, why does it take losing everything to realize what truly matters? If you had to pack your entire life into one small room, what would you take? And more importantly, what would you wish you had valued more? Let me know in the comments. Lesson 4. Independence is a gift you don't appreciate until it's gone. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be." But what happens when the choice is no longer yours? When the simple ability to decide for yourself, to walk, to eat, to dress, slips through your fingers? We spend our lives believing we are in control, that our independence is something we will always have, but I have seen how quickly it can disappear. I remember meeting a man who had built his own house with his own 2 hands, a man who once prided himself on never asking for help. Now he had to rely on a nurse just to get out of bed. He told me, "I never thought I'd live to see the day when I'd have to ask someone to help me put my shoes on." I saw the frustration in his eyes, the quiet humiliation of needing someone to feed him, to remind him to take his medication, to help him do things he once did without thinking. And it wasn't just him. I watched as once independent women who had raised entire families now waited for someone to assist them in brushing their hair, fastening the buttons on their sweaters, and guiding them step by step to the bathroom. The things they once did absent-mindedly, the tasks they never even considered difficult, had become battles they could no longer fight alone. If you can still move, still dress yourself, still cook your own meals, understand that this is a privilege, not a guarantee. I never thought much about it before either. I walked when I wanted, I ate when I felt like it, I made my own choices, never once considering what life would be like if I couldn't. But after spending time in that nursing home, after seeing what happens when a person's independence is taken away, I realized something. Every movement, every action we take for granted is a gift. If I could go back, I would have treated my body better. I would have exercised, stretched, stayed active, done everything in my power to keep myself strong for as long as possible. Because once you lose your independence, the world becomes smaller, and the person you once were begins to fade into a version of yourself you never imagined. So I ask you, while you still can, what are you doing to protect your independence? Are you treating your body like something that will carry you through old age? Or are you assuming you'll always have time later? Because I've seen what happens when later becomes too late. Let me know in the comments, what's one thing you're grateful you can still do today? Lesson 5. Happiness comes from the simple things. William James once wrote, "The greatest discovery of any generation is that a human can alter his life by altering his attitude. I used to think happiness was something to be earned, something that only arrived when life was perfect, when all the pieces fell into place, when success, money, and recognition finally felt like enough. But in that nursing home I met an 85-year-old woman who changed my mind, with just one sentence. She was always smiling, always radiating warmth, even in a place where many carried the weight of regret and loneliness. One day, I asked her how she stayed so happy, despite everything she had been through. She looked at me and said, 'I don't think about what I've lost. I enjoy what I still have.' It was such a simple answer, yet it held a truth that I had overlooked for years. I watched how she found joy in the smallest things, a warm cup of tea in her hands, the way the morning sun streamed through the window, the laughter of a nurse in the hallway. She had outlived her husband, many of her friends, and much of the life she once knew, yet she was the most content person I had ever met. And then I thought about how much time we waste waiting for happiness, convincing ourselves it's just beyond our reach. We say, 'I'll be happy when I retire, when I have more money, when I achieve this or that.' But happiness isn't hiding in the future, it's in the present, in the quiet moments we take for granted. So tell me, what is one small thing that brought you joy today? Let me know in the comments, because happiness is already here if we choose to see it. Lesson 6. Forgiveness brings true peace. Mark Twain once wrote, "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it." I didn't fully understand those words until I spent time in a nursing home, surrounded by people who carried lifetimes of unresolved pain. There I saw firsthand how bitterness can age a person far faster than time ever could. Many of the residents had long given up on seeking revenge or justice, but they still clung tightly to old grudges, wounds that had never healed. Some were angry at children who had grown distant, siblings who had betrayed them, or friends who had walked away when they were needed most. But the most tragic were those who held resentment toward people who had already passed away, people they would never have the chance to confront, never have the chance to make peace with. I met a woman who had refused to speak to her sister for over 20 years. She told me about the argument that started it all, about how neither of them had wanted to be the first to apologize, about how stubbornness had become a wall between them. And then one day, her sister was gone, just like that. No second chances, no way to undo what had been done. She told me she carried that regret like a weight, an anchor that pressed on her chest every day. "I thought holding onto my anger would make me stronger," she said, "but all it did was make me lonely." And I started to notice a pattern. The ones who held on to anger the longest were the ones who suffered the most. They were trapped in a prison of their own making, their bitterness keeping them from ever feeling truly free. But then there were others, the ones who had chosen to let go, the ones who had made peace with their past, not because the people who hurt them deserved it, but because they deserved peace. Those were the people who carried a lightness about them, a sense of calm that was almost enviable. And I realized then that forgiveness isn't something we do for others, it's something we do for ourselves. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending the pain wasn't real. It means deciding that your heart is worth more than the burden of carrying resentment. Because at the end of life, when the days grow shorter and the regrets grow louder, what truly matters isn't who was right or wrong, who won or lost. It's whether you found peace before it was too late. And so I ask you, is there someone in your life you need to forgive? Not for their sake, but for yours? Because one day you may realize that the time you spent being angry was time you could have spent being free. Let me know in the comments, what does forgiveness mean to you? Lesson 7. Every day is a gift. don't waste it. Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. Fools stand on their island of opportunities and look toward another land. There is no other land, there is no other life but this." I had heard words like this before, read them in books, nodded along as if I understood, but I didn't, not really. Not until I spent time in that nursing home, where I saw again and again how quickly time slips away. One morning, a resident passed away in his sleep. Just the night before, he had sat at the dinner table, laughing, sharing stories, making plans for the future, and then, just like that, he was gone. I remember walking past his empty room later that day, looking at the chair where he had sat only hours before, the book he had left open as if he would return to it, the jacket still hanging by the door. It was eerie how life could be so full one moment and so silent the next. That moment hit me harder than I expected because I had seen this before, felt this before. How many times had I watched people leave this world with unfinished plans, with things left unsaid, with dreams they kept postponing for some day? And yet, how often do we tell ourselves the same lie, that we have time, that we can always do it later, that there will be another chance another day? But the truth is, none of us know how much time we have left. We waste too many days worrying about things that don't matter, waiting for the perfect moment, putting off the things that truly make life meaningful. We say, "One day, I'll take that trip. One day, I'll call that friend. One day, I'll finally do the things I've always wanted." But one day never comes. There is no perfect time, there is only one now. The biggest lesson I learned: live now. If there's someone you need to forgive, don't wait. If there's something you've always wanted to do, don't wait. If there's a person you love, tell them today, because when the final moment comes, we won't regret what we did, we'll only regret what we never allowed ourselves to do. So let me ask you, what is one thing you've been putting off, that you know, deep down, you need to do? And what's stopping you from doing it right now? Let me know in the comments, because maybe today is the day you finally say yes to life. As I left that nursing home, I carried more than just memories. I carried lessons that reshaped the way I see life. Loneliness, health, material possessions, independence, happiness, forgiveness, and time. These are the things that truly define our final years, not wealth or status. Every story I heard, every regret I witnessed, every realization I had reminded me of one thing. Life is fragile, and the way we choose to live it today will determine how we feel about it in the end. If you've watched this far, I hope these lessons stay with you as much as they have stayed with me. I hope you don't wait to reach out to loved ones. I hope you take care of your body now, not when it's too late. I hope you see happiness in the little things, learn to forgive, and stop putting off what truly matters. Because in the end, when we look back, we won't wish for more money or more possessions. We will wish for more moments, more love, more time well spent. So let me ask you, if this was your last year, would you be proud of how you're living today? Let me know in the comments. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because these are the conversations that truly matter.